Yeah. So today I woke up to this. The garbage still hasn't been taken. And there's hella snow. I mean, it's not a lot because we have been getting less and less snow in New York. But it's a icy, slushy mess. And I gotta clean it. So the first thing I gotta do is get rid of these garbage cans. I'm already sliding in these old ass uptowns. But if you know anything about that winter salt, that shit is finna fuck up your shoes. So use the fucking raggediest type of shoes you got to do this part. Gotta let the lady with the kids, you know. Of course he's gonna just slip and slide on my sidewalk. Good thing I thought ahead, and the day before I put a little bit of salt. You know what I mean? I put a little bit of that sazon on so that snow is coming right off. This is gonna be a workout, man. I'm telling you. Y'all probably gonna be like, yo, free don't be fresh out here. Look at them uptowns looking like he lives in Williamsburg with all my gentrified people. Shout out to the gentrifiers. Y'all know y'all be rocking the uptown thrifts. But yeah, I'm about to sell these for like 500 on eBay. They like them to look like this. Nah, but I'm just fucking around. I'm just making light of the situation. But yeah, I'm over here doing the moonwalk like I'm Michael, trying to make sure I don't bust my ass and look stupid on YouTube. Uh, just that little bit, man, got me got me tired as hell. This shit, you gotta put some torque into that, man. Now that I'm looking back, I was just waking up. Gotta put some torque into this shoveling. Imagine we get a crazier storm. I'm definitely not gonna be ready. And that I've been hitting the gym, all of that, but nothing prepares you for that shoveling that you gotta do, man. Nobody looks forward to that. For any of y'all that grew up in the East Coast or anywhere that it snows, y'all know that final step. This is like making a nice ribeye. You gotta put that sazon. You gotta put that salt, that snow salt. I like to use gloves because man, this stuff will eat up your kicks. This stuff will mess up the roads. This stuff is gonna crack your cement board on the floor. I don't know what this stuff is made out of, but all I know is if you don't put this shit on after you shovel, you're gonna be doing that moonwalk, man. You're gonna be busting your ass like I was. So make sure you got that sea salt or that snow salt and just season your sidewalks, man, so you don't get sued out here. But yeah, I'm gonna go check you guys out. We're gonna be going over a tutorial today. It's gonna be how to transfer a beat from your ASR into your DAW. All right. So I'm going back inside. It's cold as hell out here. I'm gonna put a little bit more salt before I go inside, and fuck that, man. I'm in there. We ain't back in the studio. Peace, peace. How y'all doing? It's your boy Free Play. So today I'm gonna be showing you guys a few ways to track your beats out of the ASR into your computer or into your D.A.W. I personally use Ableton. That's a D.A.W that I bought. I own the license to it. So that's the one that I tend to use. But you could take these same concepts and apply it to FL Studio, to Logic, to Pro Tools. They're going to be the same concepts. So right now I'm using an older interface just because I made some changes to my studio. I had to sell a interface that I had, an RME, that had a lot of inputs. But right now I'm using the first professional interface that I bought, which is the Apogee Duet Firewire. And I'm using an older computer as well because my newer laptop is not compatible with that. So use what you got. And since I'm working mostly on hardware, I'm using my computer like a tape machine. So I'm just tracking two inputs at a time because that's what I have available. Now, if you have an interface that has multiple inputs, more than two, then you could use the additional outputs on your drum machine or on your ASR. So what I have right here is the output expander for the ASR. Is called the OEX6SR. So this is basically a module. It's very expensive and hard to find. And it basically adds 6 additional outputs for a total of 8 outputs on your ASR. So I hope to get an interface again that allows me to record more than just 2 inputs at a time. And then I can start using this guy again. But for right now, it's on standby and it's not going nowhere. Because like I said, somebody's started to make these, but it's getting harder to find these. So basically, I'm going to show you here inside of Ableton how I have my Ableton set up. So I'm going to hit Command, comma on a Mac. That's going to bring up your settings screen. And here, as you can see, I have my audio input and output device set to the duet, 2 ins, 2 outs. And I have a couple of tracks here. This is a template that I have. We're going to ignore the first 2 tracks. They're for the MPC. One is a MIDI controller for the MPC, and the other one is the record track for the MPC. But again, I only have 2 inputs, so I made this beat that I'm going to be tracking today completely on the ASR 10. So I don't need to use any of these. I mean, as a matter of fact, I could delete them. And as you can see here, I have this to external input, which is the duet, 1 and 2, stereo input. So now I'm going to cut and go to the ASR and show you guys how I have my beat set up in there, a beat that's already kind of finished, and how I'm going to track that in. So I'll see you guys in a second. Peace. All right, guys, so we're out here on the ASR. And one thing I wanted to show you guys before I show you how I set up my tracking of the beat is these things, you know. This is the manual for the ASR. So I've read this. There's also a longer manual that I have the PDF to. There's also a service manual for it. And I got all of these from the guy that I bought the ASR from. And I bought this ASR about 10 years ago. And there's one for the SCSI interface. So a lot of the stuff, you could find out how to do it by reading. I know a lot of people don't like to read, but if you take this seriously, you're gonna read. You're gonna be obsessed. You're gonna wanna know the ins and outs of this machine, how to fix it, how to do things. And I've learned a lot of stuff from YouTube, but I've also learned more stuff from reading. So make sure you guys print your manuals, invest in yourself. Treat this shit like, you know, like school, treat it like work. You have to read the employee's manual, or in school, you gotta read for a test. You know, read. Don't think that it's cool to not read and to just think that you learn things because you experimented. Because that's gonna leave you stuck. You're gonna get stuck at a level and you're gonna get frustrated and say, hey, this machine is not for me. Just because there's no waveforms on this screen, this machine is more powerful than a lot of software and a lot of drum machines that are out right now. That's why you see people like Kanye and Timbaland and Pharrell probably still using these ASR 10s because they could do things that Ableton is just catching up. But anyways, I'm gonna show you guys a beat that I did here. I did it completely on the ASR, and I'm gonna be tracking it into Ableton like I showed you guys already. I have my input 1 and 2 set up to Ableton. I'm gonna hit record on Ableton right now, actually. And this is the beat in the order that I made. I have a drums, like a drum loop here. I have a sample here, and I have a 808. I have a snare, and I have a kick. I'm not gonna show you exactly how I did it because this is just a concept of tracking it, okay? So I have a sequence. So I go here to edit sequence, and you could see my tempo is 140. So I make sure that on Ableton, I have the tempo also set to 140 BPM. Now I'm gonna go back here to edit track, and I'm gonna be able to solo. So this page comes up. You know, you should know how to navigate through the ASR with the concepts I'm showing you. I'm not gonna hold your hand. So I'm gonna solo the drum loop first. I'm gonna press down or up. S means it's solo, and I'm gonna hit play. So it's gonna play my sequence. you should be able to hear it. Let me make it a little louder. That's my loop. So I found the drum break and I made a loop correctly, and I'll show you guys probably how to do that in the future. Let's go back to edit, sequence. You can see here, my sequence is about 16 bars long. So this keeps looping over and over. That's what sets my rhythm or whatever. Now let me go back here to edit track. I'm gonna solo the next element, which is here. I'll press up. And this element is, again, I could go out and see what that is, edit. That's my sample, right? So let me go back, edit track, solo, hit play. That's a sample. I did some sample reduction, or I converted the sample rate down, I filtered it. I did a lot of stuff to the sample inside the ASR. That's why this keyboard is powerful. All right, the next element that I said, I believe it was an 808. So I'm gonna solo that. If you got headphones on, you should be able to hear the 808. So that's the importance of putting everything on a track, because I could solo it, and as I'm recording inside of Ableton, all these tracks are gonna get recorded one by one. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that. I'm gonna cut it. I'm gonna cut the video here, and I'm gonna show you guys again inside of Ableton how these things got tracked and recorded. But this is the basic concept. I'm soloing the tracks here, and then from there, I'm recording them one by one at the right tempo, you know? So I let them play for the 16 bars, and then I go and I could start them, you know, on the 1 or whenever by hitting play. I know when that's supposed to hit. And the first thing I record is usually my drum loop, because that's gonna line me up. I could just put the warp marker or put the transient on that first kick, and then everything else should line up inside of Ableton. And I'll show you guys that inside the DAW. And the last element is the kick, if you guys want to hear what that sounds like. Then I play the whole beat together just so you could hear how the beat sounds all together with the elements. So. All right, so I'll check you guys back inside of Ableton.
All right, bet. So we're back inside of Ableton, and your session should look something like this. If you went through and solo every element of your beat from the ASR back into Ableton, we're dumping audio directly into the D.A.W. So as you can see, my beat had 5 sections or 5 different parts. There was a drum break, there was a sample, and there was a 808, a snare, and a kick in that order. So I could also label it up here. You could add a locator. So you could put like break here. You could go ahead and put a locator here, just so you know where things are. You could put sample. You could add a locator here. That's going to be the 808. Just so you know where you're grabbing things from in case you forget, but it's also good to stay organized. Snare. That's one of the main things you learn while you're engineering. You want to label things because you want to be able to know where they are, be able to go back, especially once you have more than like 5 tracks. You're going to, you're not going to just know by the waveform, although that ends up happening. You start knowing what a snare looks like just by the way it's shaped. But anyways, the shortcuts, they make you faster and efficient. So Command T, we're going to make 5 audio tracks. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right. And I noticed that Ableton works better when, if you don't need to record, just put no input on these. It helps with latency, and it also helps with the computer here with the usage of the processing power. So just take these. There's also a way you can highlight them with Shift and then hit Alt, Shift, and no input, just like in Pro Tools. That's the same shortcut. I know I'm moving kind of fast, but I'm just showing you guys like what's the process, and if you guys have any questions, I can answer them in the comments or slow it down a little bit more. So my session is at 140 BPM. That's the same BPM as my beat inside of the ASR. And I already have everything recorded, so I don't really use floppies, although I have that, and I have this SCSI thing I bought, but it's really confusing with the ASR. It's not just as easy as dumping things into the SD card and then you could just drag and drop it into Ableton. No, it's really confusing to use this. I'm still wrapping my head around it. And I joined a Facebook group, and there's people there trying to help me out, but I really don't get it. Not yet, at least, but I invested in this. I have the SCSI on the ASR, but and I don't save it on floppy because I need it inside the DAW in case I want to use this beat or give this beat to another artist. I want to have access to it right away. Anyways, so you have to record your beat. And also it helps because now I have the sound of the converters, obviously out of the ASR, coming directly into my Duet Firewire, which I think this one, maybe because I'm biased, but this has like the same converters as the Symphony, which was the Duet's, which was Apogee's flagship model at the time that I bought this, like in 2000 and I want to say 2009 or something like that. I bought the Duet Firewire, but clear and very big converters as well. So, a lot of talk about converters these days. And, even though this unit is old or older, the Apogee Duet Firewire is still like, you can ask anybody that owns it or look it up. It has good converters. But the thing is now Apple stopped supporting Firewire. So this is only working with the older computer that I have. I would keep supporting Apogee, but recently I've been in love with the RME interfaces just because their drivers are very, very stable and they support their units like long term. So that's something else that when you're investing in gear, make sure you're doing your research. Like, how is this company? How do they treat their customers? How do they support their hardware? Or how often do they abandon it? Because you'll see there's a lot of cool, shiny stuff. And then a few years later, the developers are no longer around or they're not supporting it, or even Apple's not supporting it. So that's kind of why I went to hardware, because I was like, F all this. Like, I want to make sure that they can't just stop my MPC 2000 Excel from working, Like, any of these companies that are software based, they could just say, you're not connected to the cloud. You can't make a beat just because you don't have internet access. You know what I mean?
Message!
This was on the Facebook group for a Kai MPC Facebook group. And shout out to Brian Davis. I don't know who you are, homie, but I'm sorry you had to go through this. And he said, so it was the servers and not my MPCs that were tripping yesterday. Plugins activated on everything with no issues this morning. So I'm guessing his MPC Live 2 or one of his other MPCs, if he has more than one, they weren't working for a day because something on the cloud was messed up on Akai's end or even on his end. But these are supposed to be professional tools, man. And if you can't use them whenever your creativity strikes, that's just gonna kill. That's just gonna kill the vibe, man. You could have had that hit record in you, and you couldn't create it because you couldn't get your ideas out because the thing you paid thousands of dollars for is not working because of the internet, And that's why I moved away from Unfortunately, I love Pro Tools. That's what I use in the studios, but now I can't update it. It's on the cloud, the subscription, whatever I got to pay every month. I just like paying for something one time and let me use it. Let me create, and the homie couldn't create for a couple of days just because his plugins weren't activating or something like that. And that's why I went back, man, and I had the machine, like I said, and I go back to these guys because that Ensoniq, unless it's messed up and I find out how to fix it, is gonna boot up and it's gonna let me work. Same thing with the XL, So I'm hard pressed, man. To I want to move forward and get something newer, but If it ain't broke, don't fix it, you know? And if you're going to fix it, make it better. Don't make it more difficult. So, yeah, man, I just wanted to put this here because I ran across it actually right after I finished editing and recording the video.
That's what it's all about, Trey.
The fuck is he talking about?
Anyways, so I have the sound coming directly from the ASR into here, and I'm gonna label all of these, okay? Command R to rename audio tracks. The first track is a break, so I'm gonna call this break. You hit tab, it goes to the next one, and then this one was the sample. My bad, I hit tab. Command R. This was the 808. It's all labeled at the top again so that I could remember. And then we have Command R here again. We have a snare. And then lastly, the kick. All right. So here, I'm going to go up and I'm going to just highlight this. I'm going to hit Command E. And I'm going to hold, I believe it's Alt to copy it down, okay? So I'm going to mute this for now because I don't want to hear all of this. So now I have a copy here of my kick. And I'm going to double-click here. You notice that it's on warp, so you could leave it like that on warp. And then you're going to go to the first, let me make this bigger. You're going to go to the first kick, right? That's your one. So you're going to highlight this, right click rather, and you're going to hit set 1.1 here. All right. So right now, if I drag this over, it's already on the 1. So I'm going to drag it all the way to 1 up here. Okay. And I'm going to hide this just so that you don't get distracted. Okay. So remember my break and my beat in general, my pattern was 16 bars long. So I'm going to just highlight all of this. I recorded a little bit extra just in case I need it. I'm going to delete that. And that should be, you know, if I hit Command L, another shortcut, it'll loop that section. Let's hear the break by itself. Shout out to Jake One. That's a Snare Jordan. That's from one of the Snare Jordan packs. I'm not going to tell you which pack it's from, but support the homie. Another one of people I look up to that uses the ASR 10. But I got this. I just looped it inside the ASR. So we got that going. All right, perfect. Now I'm going to do the same thing with each one of the other elements. You see it's looping perfectly. All right, cool. So let me open up this ASR 10 track here. I'm going to highlight my sample, Command E. I'm going to hit Alt, click and drag. I'm going to drag it down here to the sample track. I'm going to double click on the waveform. And again, I'm going to just go down here. Ableton will automatically detect the transient. And I'm going to right click and hit set 1.1 here. I'm going to drag this over. It's only a 16 bar pattern that I did. And I could arrange it however I want later on. But these are the main elements of my loop. So again, I recorded a lot more than I needed. And I'm just going to go ahead and highlight that and delete. I'm going to hide this so that we don't get distracted. This is muted. And here we go. Sounds good to me. All right. Now we're going to keep doing that for all the other tracks. So let me go grab my 808. This I know I definitely grabbed a lot more than I needed. I'm going to put it on the 808 track, double click, go to my 1. I always start recording it on the 1. Right click, set 1.1 here. Let me take this away, zoom out, close this for focus, and then boom. I'm going to delete every extra thing that I have, and I'm going to play it back from the beginning. Sounds good. Now with the snare, since it's not on the 1, it's going to be a little bit trickier to do it. So I'm going to save that one for the end. But let me do the kick real quick because that's going to be on the 1. Let me drag this down to the kick track. Let me just right click here, set 1.1 here. This is why I like using Ableton to do this, because Ableton has a really good like time warping algorithm, and it also you know, has that set 1.1 feature that makes these type of things easier for you. So, you know, this is a part where using easy things is good for you, because it's going to make you faster. You know, when you're making your actual art, you know, sometimes you want to avoid easy because it might sound cheap. But here, you know, this is efficient for your workflow. So let's see. So basically, there's a couple of ways to do this. You know, when the snare is supposed to hit, I could go ahead and just like line it up with the drum break here if I want. So I know, like, more or less what I could do is like set the 1 here. I could set 1.1 here. What that's gonna do is just gonna clean up my clip, my audio clip. But you know, the snare's not supposed to hit on the 1, or at least how I had it. And I had it kind of like dragging a bit on the beat, so I'm gonna just play it back and see where the snare hits. Usually, like, if it's at 140 and this double timing, if it was at 70, it would be like on the 2 and the 4. But here it's gonna hit on this 3 marker right around here. So I'm gonna just drag it over here, and I'm gonna listen. So you're gonna use your ears, and right away I could see that it's not hitting. Like, it's gonna hit probably too early, but it's not gonna be perfect, right? Like exactly how it was in the ASR. But I know how it felt. I know how the music was feeling. So let me just like use my ears and play it back and see, you know, if I gotta move this around manually, you know, and I'll just move it. I'm not too picky, like, oh my God, I need MIDI sync, I need all of this. Not just use your ears, and you know, if it's feeling how it is, you gonna know. So let's play it back. So you see, it's kind of starting to lose the timing a bit. So let me see what's going on here. I got it warped and stuff. I could also take off the warp, see if that does anything. No, it's just the timing thing. Because I know I played this by hand, so it came out, you know, some parts, and I was playing it late anyway, so I'm going to just drag it. I'm going to press, I'm going to click and hold Alt, I believe, when I drag. Yeah, and that allows me to fine drag it. So I'm going to just put it a little bit behind the snare and see how this is looking overall. Let me see how this is all looking on my beat. It might have been a lot, you know, like something like that. Let me see. That's about it. That sounds good to me. Because I had it off. It's like a layer, you know? Yep. And that was kind of tucked in the ASR. You can mix it more if you want. But yeah, that's pretty much it. So I got all my elements. That's it. My beat is out of the ASR to my computer. Now I could go ahead and arrange this however I want. But as you can hear, it is looping just the same way it was looping on my short. I just uploaded a short of this beat, and it's looping the same way. But yeah, that's pretty much how I do it. If you guys have any questions, just write them in the comments. Thank you guys for subscribing. You know, turn on the notifications. That way you guys know whenever I'm uploading. I'm gonna be trying to upload like almost every day or every other day, definitely multiple times a week. So check your boy Free Play out. This is how you track beats out of the ASR. Peace.